The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, Breckon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Stonewall Stud, The Clubs, Alexandra Park, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, Garrard's Horse and Hound, and IRT. It's your horse and our passion. Hi everyone, welcome into another edition of Your Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors, and a very big thank you to them once again. Michael Guerin, incredibly important week, it always is, great barometer for the industry. Yearling Sales Week, as I say hi to you.
Yeah, hi Greg, big hi to everybody watching around the country, and of course to our friends in Australia who we hope are bidding at the sales which start at Karaka on Sunday. Greg, so much to talk about because last week, huge weekend back at Melton. This week it feels like our harness racing premier season or year for 2021 actually gets started out of Addington. And then of course the sales, which have a few new areas, I think we're not used to with the no Australians on the ground, but Greg, we have some amazing horse flesh up for offer. I've been saying it all week to anybody who would listen. The strongest catalogue of standardbred yearlings I've ever seen in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm looking forward, Greg, to seeing how all those things shake out.
Yeah, well, let's get straight into the sales and confirm what is available for you during sales week. And of course it starts with the parade on Saturday, 1 p.m. out of Karaka. Sale day kicks off right on lunchtime with the sale of the Pacers and Trotters there. Then we shift south Sunday evening. Everyone moves to Christchurch, and we have the parade and sale of Trotters starting from 1 p.m. on the Monday, and then the following 2 days we have the sale of the Pacers from 1 p.m. The broadcast details are there for you. We'll have plenty of information coming out of the sales via the NZB Standardbred page as well. So those are the full details around where to go to find out what's happening sales-wise. But I did go online and have a look at their online bidding tutorial, it is, and it was outstanding. So if you haven't bid online before, go and have a look at that, nzbstandardbred.co.nz. Breckon Farms are wonderful supporters of the show. So let's have a look at some of their top lots. 33 of the 36, Michael, have black type either in dam 1 or 2, so their pages look great, and this one is a good example of that. Bettor's Delight out of the 2-year-old filly of the year, only for you.
Yeah, and kicking off early, Greg, really important that this the market gets set for a boutique sale. It's quite a small sale, of course, with under 130 lots early doors, so you need some good lots early. This will be a good lot. Typical Bettor's Delight, strong looking type of a horse, current family, well filmed these horses too. This is one of the big ones, Greg, a rock and roll dance at a twist and twirl, meaning a 3/4 brother to King of Swing, the reigning Miracle Mile champion. He's a sleek looking horse, much like his brother Greg. He's one of the horses who's going to top 100,000 for the sale. How close he gets to 200 may depend on how many Australians get involved online, but clearly one of the lots of the sale, Greg, being so well related.
Yeah, and of course Better Twist also in that family. Here's lot 42, Wild Willow out of Willow, a Group 1 winner herself of the 3-year-old size.
Yeah, and Art Major, who doesn't have as many horses at the sale this year as he would have had, say, 5 years ago. Look, he's always been a sales favourite. He's a horse he leaves nice, big, strong, upstanding looking yearlings, and people love them. The Willow side of things, former national record holder, she was all class as a filly. Another Art Major from Sem's Delight, and Greg, they leave these beautiful, strong yearlings, and he's very much in the Christian Cullen mould, Art Major, in that he's left yearling sale success every year he's been on the ground in New Zealand.
Yeah, this one, the mother of Passion and Power, who's won 4, including on Monday at Amberley, bounced back into form. This is the family of Hot Shoe Shuffle, so will be pretty well sought after too, as will this filly by Bettor's Delight out of Good Looking Girl, the full sister to El Mac, who won over 600,000 and a dozen races and dominated her era.
Yeah, and there's also, again, this is getting to these sort of fillies where you think, okay, this would usually be a sales topping contender for the filly side, Greg. She's one of a dozen or 20 that could top the sale for the fillies, so much black type. Really like what Breckon Farms have done here, letting the horses run and show their gaits in the videos. The Regal Volo family has become one of the most topical families in trotting. This one by What the Hill, who's obviously been imported by Woodlands, and Greg, I like what I've seen of the What the Hills so far, but on the dam side, this is about as strong as any family in Australasia gets.
Yeah, 2010, Highgate, Alana Hall, the page full of black type there. Lot 121, again by What the Hill out of Love You Doozy, who the Breckons have been in love with since they got involved in the sport.
Yep, this is, again, one of their families, one of those families, the I Can Do's It family, which has been just producing winner after winner the last sort of 10 years. Again, they've gone to What the Hill. I expect What the Hill to have a good sale because, as you can see, again, long trotting type horses, very upstanding type of horses. Should be a good first season sale for a trotting stallion.
Yeah, and here's one by Father Patrick out of that same family we're talking about, the Regal Volo family. The Father Patrick's well sought after. Son of Patrick has been winning them in a row, and there's a few others that have been lighting up the tracks too. So I think lot 52 will be one that buyers are pretty keen on.
I'll be honest, I'm surprised Ken and Karen Breckon are selling so many of these wonderful trotters. Here's another one, What the Hill out of Lubianne. But I spoke to Ken about that and he said, look, basically, we want to support the sale. We realise it's a tricky last year for the industry. We're going to support it with these 34 of the 36 they're selling, they own themselves. It's a bit of a cliche. He said it a few times this week. He's opened the jewellery box. Well, Greg, they really have. They have basically said we're going to sell the best of what we've got, much like Sir Peter Valentine with Pen Caro at the Thoroughbred sales, Greg. And that, with Woodlands alongside the two big commercial studs in the North Island, or two big commercial farms, that means this sales commercial, there's a lot less of what we had 20 years ago, Greg, which was, hey, we've got two old mares down the paddock, we'll breed those, take them to the sales, hope for a good result. This sale, predominantly in the north, Greg, is about big commercial farms doing commercial things and going to very commercial stallions. And that's why we have so much black type in this catalogue. For those who missed the show last week, when you go through the catalogue, Greg, it's actually difficult to come across a mare who A, isn't black type, B, hasn't left a black type horse, or C, doesn't have a black type sibling. A couple of the trotting families, it's harder to get black type. That's not quite the case. With the paces available on Sunday, Greg, that's pretty much the entire catalogue.
Yep, you're not wrong there. So we sent our intrepid reporter Michael Guerin out to Alexandra Park on Friday night to gauge where the participants are at. Amongst them, some of our biggest players, the likes of Barry Purdon, Steve Telfer, and some preparers as well. So let's get to those and find out what the northern investors are thinking.
Well, Barry, it's sales week and the catalogue is dripping in black print.
Yeah, it's a good catalogue, Mick, yes. Yep.
What's your attitude towards the sales? Do you get around most of the yearlings in the preceding weeks, or are you more interested in what you see during the sales weekend?
We try and get round them. Scott's been round quite a few of them, and then Scott and I went round quite a lot yesterday as well. So, he's trying to do it, and then you go back and have another look, and you can make a different opinion on things.
Last year you decided to buy colts at the top end. You said, I'm not going to muck around with horses I'm not sure about. I'm going to buy the ones I want. What's your attitude towards the sales coming up at Karaka on Sunday?
Well, I think a bit the same, Mick. Yeah, try and target horses that have got a pedigree that are going to compete in group races, and obviously you've still got to like them. That's the first thing, but that's our aim anyway, Mick, and we'll just see how that unfolds.
You know how some people like them with a kind eye or big ears or big nostrils or a nice shoulder or a myriad of things. What's the first thing you look for?
I like to see a nice eye, yeah. Nice eye on a horse, yeah.
Well, Steve, you and Stonewall Stud bought up big at the weanling sale back in May. Do you go again at the yearling sales coming up?
Yeah, look, we've definitely had a look at a few of them and been through the books, and Steve's keen to go again. Mightn't quite be the numbers. I think we bought 15 last year, but mightn't quite be that high, but we're definitely looking to go again. You
were telling me there's already a big number of yearlings on the farm.
Yeah, we've got about 21 or 2 so far, with a few outside ones as well. Ones we've bred and the weanlings we bought last year, so we've already got quite a number, but we're still going to have a look and see if there's something we'd like.
Okay, who's the problem person here? Is it you? the other Steve or Jill when it comes to seeing horses and taking home horses you didn't intend buying when you went there?
Well, look, it's a team effort, but probably Steve.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I thought he would have been more sensible than that. What's a ballpark figure? Are you going there to look at 3 or 4?
Yeah, look, no numbers, mate. Just probably, could be anywhere from 2, might be up to 6 or 8. So yeah, just look, see if we like, and then of course the market depends on on how high we go and how many we get.
Well, John, you've been a Goliath at the sales in the last couple of years. What's the attitude heading into Sunday, and then of course the other couple of days coming up in Christchurch?
Yeah, well, we've had Ray Green, of course, go round. He's been down the Cell Island once. He goes back again on Monday and Tuesday down to Invercargill. We've looked at a lot of them in Auckland, but on the Saturday before the sale, we'll obviously be out there inspecting the horses we haven't seen. We try and get it down to about 20 horses at the end of the day, but we will be buying about 12. We bought 12 last year. Most of them are very nice horses. I don't think we've got a dud amongst them. So the research that goes on with Ray and Debbie Green and the vets and all those sort of people, we do the research, and we normally buy pretty nice horses. And as you know, I bought 2 at 200,000 last year. So we'll buy them if they're nice horses. We'll buy them.
John, let's get to the nitty-gritty. What happens if Ray likes a horse and you don't like the look of it?
Well, Ray makes the decision in the end, and I'll go along with Ray. Like, he's a horseman.
That's pretty good of you.
I only pay the bills, mate. So what I mean is that Ray's been around forever, 40 years in horses, and he can look at a horse and he knows. And his wife Debbie's a very good judge. She bought copy of that for $3,000. So at a Greenling sale. So what I mean, Debbie has a great eye, and she's going to the South Island with Ray as well. And she'll also be at the parade, and she just seems to be able to pick them. They pick some very nice horses that won over $1 million in Perth. They've picked them themselves. So they're very good judges, and what else could I say?
Is it fun, sales day, or is it business at the level you're involved at now, or is there still that rush of adrenaline?
Oh, I've bought hundreds of horses over the years, thoroughbreds and standardbreds, and I still get a thrill out of buying a nice horse. And we've had some duds, of course. We all get duds, but I think our percentage of probably 80 to 90% of good horses, I think it pays dividends. And as you know, I was in supermarket business. I retired. I run 60 acres of Pukekohe. That's my hobby. If I wasn't doing that, I'd be sitting on my backside at home watching television, and that's the last thing I ever want to do. So we get a thrill out of horses and winning, and both the thoroughbreds and standardbreds. I didn't buy any thoroughbreds this year because I've bred about 4 or 5, so I didn't buy any at the cracker sales.
Well, Josh, it's your first year out training by yourself. I suppose you've got to go to the sales to keep the momentum going.
For sure, Mick. The only way to keep your team going every year is to need the young ones coming through, and we always love to have good young stock getting up and going as 2-year-olds, and if not, try and make classic 3-year-olds of them. That's always the goal, and I think you've always got to have some sort of goals. So heading to the sales this year, it's going to be no different.
Do you have buyers already, or are you still looking for buyers? Is there still room at the Dickey stable?
Yeah, we're always looking. Never turn down that. We do have clients that are really keen right now. We've got syndicates for trotters, and we've got clients for paces as well. So they're ready to spend a bit of money to try and get themselves that next good horse. And for myself, that I'm lucky that I've got that sort of clients backing me.
What do you like about a horse? Are you a page man, a type man? Some people like big ears or nice eyes, or a whole range of things. What do you like on a horse?
I think a whole range of things. I really love a type. They do have to have a bit of pedigree, but I love a type. I haven't read many books, but one book I read Bart Cummings' book, and I found it really interesting, the chapter about his time at Karaka and when he would spend time looking at yearlings. And one thing he said is you'd never find a 100% correct horse, and it's so true, because every horse you look at, you could always pick a hole in it. I think when you're looking at a yearling and you've got a good type, that you seem to like, I think you got to back your judgment, back your gut feeling. Hey, sometimes you might not get it right, but we like to think that we know what we're doing, and if you like these types enough, I think you should have a crack.
Well, Logan, you and Shane have had outstanding drafts at the sales the last couple of years. How does the 2021 draft look?
Probably our best draft we've had on paper, Mick, to tell the truth. All by good stallions out of good mares, black type everywhere, great owners, couldn't be happier.
How's the interest been?
Very good, yeah. We've done a lot of videos and photos this year, and we've actually done video scopes ourselves, so Australian people can have a look at those. Covers basis for them when they're hopefully going to spend some big money. So, no, a lot of interest.
So that was great to get that insight. Of course, Logan and Shane, they're preparing 15 yearlings and clearly have got the best that they've ever presented as well, Michael. So interesting to hear Barry Purdon's high on the big colts, the best colts again, and that's not surprising because if you want to compete in the Grand Circuit races, the Group 1 races, most of those are dominated by them.
Yeah, that's where the big money is. There's also potential for stallion deals to be done further down the track. Of course, Lazarus, which purchased at the yearling sales. Robert Dunn was someone I couldn't get for those interview segments, but Robert will be strong. We know that along with John, of course. They have owners who have spent money significantly at the sales the last couple of years. Barry's looking at top-end colts. John Street and Breckon Farms didn't buy at the galloping sales. That's really significant. They've said, we've got this big harness racing machine. Let's feed this very successful harness racing machine. Logan was interesting with Shane. They were talking about how they've actually scoped almost all their horses, and those scoping results are available online. Now that's crucial. This is where harness racing needs to catch up. To say to people, if you want x-rays or scopes, we'll provide them for you in other countries, and you can get your vet to look at them. And when those vets give you positive reports, Gregory, you're far more likely to pay that extra. But get to the 50 range, the 70 range, the 80 or the 100 range. Because when you get to that range, you do start thinking, what say this horse hasn't got this or that? I see that being the future for harness racing when we have these online sales, Greg. So good to see them getting out in front of the curve there. A lot of buoyancy around Alexandra Park. People like Tony Hurley, he's saying, I'll buy horses. Josh Dickey, they're obviously saying they'll buy horses. So I think the domestic buyers bench will be very, very strong, Greg. What I can't quite work out is how many Australians will be in the market for those top-end colts, and I'm talking the $100,000 plus colts. Now, I know you've spoken to one of the most proactive buyers in recent years, in Jean Feast. What was the feel you got from her?
Yeah, well, she's pretty frustrated because, as you know, she's very much hands-on and she loves to come and have a look at the horses 6 months before the sales and then see them progress. And her and Bill are so passionate about their New Zealand harness racing brand, if you like. And yeah, she's going to be buying at the yearling sales. It's frustrating. She's no question about that at all. She was sitting at her desk going through the videos, and you should go to New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred because, gee, some of these vendors have done a great job. And Michael's right, getting shots of the horses. I see Sprayton Lodge having them behind the jogging machine, so you can get an idea on how they move. And I think that's really come a long way. So if you want to check out the videos, many of the yearlings there, the over 400 yearlings, do have a video or at worst a photo. So yeah, get online, check it all out and get involved in those sales. Looking forward to them Saturday, Sunday and then Monday through Wednesday. Saturday, Sunday Auckland, Monday through Wednesday in Christchurch. Speaking of Robert Dunn, we'll go to Addington Raceway from last Friday night. The feature race there was the Lone Star Prelude for the Sires Stakes. Here's Five Wise Men. He's only had limited race day appearances, but he's putting together a very good record. We get Matt Cross to bring him home, and then hear from John Dunn post-race.
A length on Want to Play With Me, who's slowly eating into the lead. Five Wise Men, Want to Play With Me, then Debois. That'll be how they finish. Five Wise Men beat Want to Play With Me. Debois third, fourth in L.
A handful of starts, but he was a bit of a handful out there tonight.
Yeah, like you say, hadn't had many starts and almost lost him around the first bend. He's sort of still a big framed horse and a bit of a goofball, so I was pleased. He knuckled down up the straight nice, and be big nice to try and drive him with the sit. I think he is one of those sort of horses just come off the speed at the moment, but he'll get stronger.
Want to Play With Me, she's a handy filly, as we know, New Zealand record holder. She was running at you, but you seem to hold her pretty comfortably.
Yeah, like sort of halfway down, I thought Timmy was going to run past me there for a split second, but yeah, like you say, in the end he held it not quite nicely, so we had the fitness on our side though.
The other horse, Dubois, who managed to get off the gate really nicely, that was pleasing in trail. He's got a bit of scope too.
Yeah, he's sort of getting better and better. He's sort of he's still learning what it's all about, and I was pleased, like you say, he came off the gate nice today and trailed. He just sort of lost his momentum fractionally around that last bend, so we were ironing improvement, which is always good.
Yeah, Dubois makes his way to Addington Raceway on Friday night when we preview that meeting later on. He's in race number 1. He'll be one of the favourites for that. But 5 Wise Men, 3 from 5 now, beating Wanna Play With Me out of Harriet Hughes. There's a fair bit to look forward to with him. Let's go north though, a horse that you've liked for a wee while, Michael, and Christians Have Time, and it was looking a bit precarious at this point of the race, but gee, his last 100 metres was exceptional.
Homeward bound, Krug, Jack Ryan, now Matt Damon for the passing lane, Super Base, Christians Have Time, Krug up on the outside, Jack Ryan's there, and Krug's fighting on strongly, now Christians Have Time's out, and he's flying through the passing lane. The Auckland Trotting Club Syndicate go up as 1, and he gets home. Christians Have Time.
So that was win 5 from start 24. That surprised me in itself, Michael, because I thought he'd won more.
Yeah, he sort of arrived in sort of the intermediate semi-open class grade, which is quite clouded in the north because we don't have many open class horses left. So he's going to have to race the copy that's of the world at some stage, but he's good enough, Greg. I'm not sure he's good enough to beat them, but he's good enough to race them. He's very, very quick when driven with the sit. That's the way to drive him. The question will be in time whether he's tough enough to be driven a bit more aggressively, because sitting back and trying to come over the top in open class races is never going to be easy when a copy that type horse is in front. But I love the horse. I think he's a New Zealand Cup horse potentially by November. He's definitely an Auckland Cup horse, but I think a trip to the New Zealand Cup will do him some good. Before then, Logan very aware of the fact that he has to race, copy that a few times, maybe an open class, and then potentially get through to the Taylor Mile, the Messenger, and then obviously the Jewels. The problem for these horses, Greg, is the fact that the open class ranks in the north have just disintegrated. We've lost about 5 or 6 horses to overseas. There's maybe enough there to build some races, but most of the horses who were gone, it was the right thing to send them. They probably had limited futures here, but we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks, Greg, once the sales are over, what we're going to do about this and how we can potentially try and keep some of these triple weights and star gallerias here, Gregory, because it's got to an almost farcical stage with how many of them we are losing. On Krug, I wasn't stunned he was beaten there. He got the lead easily enough that he probably should have won, Greg, but a lot of 3-year-olds heading to the Woodlands Northern Derby have been beaten in these lead-up races. It's actually quite commonplace because they are taking on such good older horses, but yeah, he's not scaring anybody at the moment, Krug. I think he'll improve. I think there's a whole bunch of good 3-year-olds heading to Addington this Friday night. But both Derby markets, north and south at the moment, Greg, to me, feel like there's more room for an upset than there has been potentially for the last decade or so.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Let's have a look at the Northern Derby market. And I can tell you through from the bookmakers, there's been a couple of $950 investments, 2 of them, on It's All About Faith at the $6 mark. So, yeah, there's been some strong specking for him, and he goes round in that race Michael's talking about, race 2 at Addington on the very good night on Friday night. So that's the Northern Derby, of course, on the 5th of March. Michael Guerin also had the opportunity to have a chat to the lady who puts together pretty much everything at Alexandra Park now in terms of promotion and racing, Karen Blanchard. So let's get the latest from the park.
Well, Karen, pretty exciting. A bit of a change of scene coming up here. All of the big races, more or less, of what was the Derby Carnival coming up on the same night. So March the 5th is going to be massive.
March the 5th will be massive, Michael. We have the Woodlands Northern Derby. We have Pascoe's Jewelers Northern Oaks, Crombie Lockwood Young Guns Fillies, and Breckon Farms Young Guns Colts and Geldings finals.
The Oaks and the Derby on the same night, that's a new one for us. Is that an idea of creating a mega night of harness racing here at the park?
Not really. It came about because of COVID. We've transferred out the Peter Breckon Memorial Race to the 26th of February, and hence the Pascoe's Jewelers Oaks went to the 5th of March. But it will make a great night of racing for all the 3-year-olds and the 2-year-olds.
Karen, traditionally it's been a tricky carnival because it dovetails in with Ellerslie as well, of course, to try and get crowds here for both nights. Do you think having one big night might make it easier to concentrate people on harness racing and make that the night of the carnival they choose to go?
Absolutely. Having 6, I think, group races on the night will be interesting for everybody, and there'll be something for everyone to watch.
Okay, and obviously plenty of Southerners, we're hoping to get them up here. Crandell Giddy's already here, some of the other Southerners coming up, and Hayden Cullen coming north with the team. So that's going to be crucial, because I think there's a few people thinking maybe they've got a chance in some of these big races now.
Oh, absolutely. Mark Jones, he's got his 2 fillies in the Oaks, so every day we're getting more nominations for those 2 big races, and I guess the 2-year-olds, there'll be more of them come out of the woodwork from now till then as well.
Pasco's usually give away a diamond ring on Oaks night. Now that it's Oaks Derby night, is that still happening, Karen?
Absolutely, yes, that will be one of the features of the evening. It's a draw that's done a little bit different. You have to draw a runner in the Oaks, and then obviously if you draw the winner, you get to take home the ring. So it always creates a lot of interest.
Okay, Top of the Park's going to be open that night, so people should get their bookings in early, because I'm picking it's a night that's going to sell out pretty well.
Yep, that will be right. Go to Alexandra Park website and you'll be able to book online or call our office in office hours.
So good to get that latest update from the ATC, great supporters of our show. Amberley have such a big day on Waitangi Day each and every year. The cup's pretty much sought after, and a horse that's been going around in all of them's been Gilligan's Island. And well, this was a smart drive from Blair Orange. He worked to the lead, Michael Guerin, about the 600 or 700 metre mark, and just put the pressure on. And gee, they're hard to run down on this grass track.
The 150, Mogul tries hard, then came Terra Maria. Cruisers run out of time. It's Gilligan's Island in the Amberley Cup. He's clinging on. Gilligan's Island won it. He's going to beat home either Mogul or Terra Maria. I fancy Mogul might have held.
Took his earnings up over 50,000. He's just a good, genuine Country Cup type horse for Graham Court. And yeah, Blair just drove him to perfection here, Michael.
Yep, toughens them up, all this racing in the Country Cups on the grass, and then you can take them back to Addington and find out whether they're good enough to compete at that slightly higher level. So you can think a horse like him might turn up in a decent race somewhere, a Rangi or a Classic, or you might even sneak him into an Easter Cup, not thinking he could win it, but to see how he stands among all the open class horses. Good to see Graham back training, of course. So these days Paul is domiciled overseas, so Graham's got so much experience. It's good we didn't lose that to the harness racing industry. No one in the industry, Greg, is driving better than Blair Orange. He's a person a lot of people in the industry think so much of, not only for his ability but as a bloke. But he's gone for a tricky time here, Greg, as has he and his good friend Bob Butt. Basically, they had a night out drinking, not a massive night, a home by midnight type night a few weeks ago. They blew the bag the next day at the races, Greg. They returned positives. I'll be honest, could have happened to me plenty of times in my working life, but then again, I don't drive horses for a job, therefore I am not bound by the rules of racing. I'm sure that applies to many other people, and I'm sure plenty of trainers feel the same way, Greg. But it was a serious incident which could have happened to any of us. It's the second time it's happened for both Bob and Blair, and they have, in my belief, Greg, copped their right whack for it. And I hope and think that they'll come back out of it smarter about how they do go for a drink on these occasions, because everybody in the world's allowed to go for a drink, Gregory, as long as you're over 18. But I thought that you got some words from Blair which are really important about how he views this indiscretion.
G'day, Blair Orange here. Just want to take this opportunity to apologise to the Matakara Trotting Club for the incident on the 24th at your meeting. Also to the sponsors of the day and all the owners and trainers on the day I let down. Very remorseful for what happened, and yeah, I can't apologise enough. And also like to apologise to all owners and trainers out there and New Zealand punters that I've also let down and won't be able to compete for a little bit. And you know, really, as I say, really remorseful and regretful, and also my family who I've let down in a big way also. So yeah, looking forward to being back when I can, and getting the right help I am professionally to get myself back into the right mindset and come back a better person and be back doing what I love doing. So thanks very much for your time.
And Blair did that of his own volition there, Michael. He said to me, would it be okay if I did a wee piece for your show? And yep, I think he was pretty genuine in his remorse there. And yeah, he's looking forward to getting back on track, and he'll step out as 8 weeks. I understand there might be an appeal against the severity in terms of the length, not against the fact that he broke the rules. But I think it was a pretty mature thing to do.
Look, it's a tricky one. Alcohol's a funny thing to talk about in this country because we do have a binge drinking culture. A lot of people, whether they're doctors or lawyers, finish work, whatever day of the week they finish work, go out and drink so they can sleep and just get away from the stress of the world. I'll go out a Saturday night, Greg, and I would definitely blow the bag if I was working at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, but I'm not licensed in the racing industry, so I can do that. And there's plenty of other people who are in jobs where they also have to, for example, truck drivers have to not have any alcohol in their system. So I'm not blaming anybody for wanting to go get drunk. Blair actually told me, he said, I was home by midnight, I just had a bit to drink. He's quite skinny at the moment, Blair, which doesn't help. Look, he made a mistake, as did Bob, who's also pretty skinny. So maybe they need to chuck about 20 kilos on. I'm not making light of it because it is serious enough, but let's not get too carried away. Most people watching this show would have had days in the last couple of years, Greg, if they do drink, where they probably would have, had they been working the next morning and had they been breathalyzer tested, probably tested positive. So good on Blair, and I'm sure Bob also remorseful. It's a bit dumb. All you got to say to yourself is this, the nights where I'm not driving, I can go out and have a few beers if that's the way I'm inclined. I'll be honest, Greg, I'm not on television this Saturday, I'm having a night out Friday night. But I'm not having a night out Saturday night because I'm hosting the sales on Cracker on Sunday. But that doesn't apply to Blair and Bob. It applies to everybody in the industry, Greg. We all need to be smart about these type of things. Good on them for at least admitting they're going to go get some help to talk about their alcohol issues, but I don't think we need to be getting too carried away with some big deal. Greg, it could have happened to most of us.
Yeah, we'll just leave that there then and go back to Cambridge from last Saturday night. There was a pretty special win, a couple of greys going head to head, and Silver Power, there's a great story around this one, Michael, around Ted Edwards.
There is. Don't often see this, so the grey horses in the trail, Silver Power followed through by Emma Frost. Don't often see two greys back to back. By the way, if you want to see a fantastic harness racing photo, young Chanel Lawson's taken a beauty right about there of those two horses hitting the line. Silver Power's pretty well bred and is going to develop into an open class horse. By the way, that photograph you can pick up on Twitter or the Cambridge Raceway website. It's a stunner, the two greys going head to head. So one of the stories of this race is something I actually didn't know, Greg, and I'm not sure how it fell through the cracks, but it's probably the time of year. In the New Year's honours list, Ted Edwards, whose name is actually Edward Edwards, was given the New Zealand Order of Merit for his not only his harness racing efforts and that in rugby league, but his efforts in sustainable business. What Ted and Brett, his son, who train together, do is they take waste wood, which obviously is no good to anybody, mulch it up and use it to make premium products. A lot of the stuff which you see at children's playgrounds and in some equestrian events where they have the padded sort of surfaces. They've done that for a long time through reharvest. And Greg, Ted was recognised, 79 years old, in that New Year's honours list. So he's a harness racing man through and through, recognised at a very high level. Ted, I'm sorry we haven't mentioned it on the show before, or it hasn't been covered very well in things like papers and Harness Racing New Zealand. They had a story last week. We're very proud of what you've done. You've got a hell of a nice horse, and we hope the winning continues for you and Brett heading forward.
Yeah, she'll be heading to the breeders, of course, at Alexandra Park, and is not for sale. There's been a few people banging on the door, but that's not happening at this stage. We're about to take a short break here on your box seat. When we come back, we'll head across the Tasman because they had a massive weekend at Melton. Welcome back into your box seat, of course, with Garrards. We head across the Tasman. Friday night, Great Southern Star. So 2 heats and a final. 300,000 they were playing for in that. Tough Monarch we've seen plenty of times. And 154.6, Anthony Butt, Ricky Elshin going for home over the short course here, Michael.
Yep, he was way too good in the first heat. Ants just got to the lead and just kept on running. And look, the way he won this, you would have thought he'd be a chance in the final 2.5 hours later, but those chances were extinguished when he drew the second line. So he was good in the first heat, Greg. The second heat, probably the story of the night and eventually the story of the final. Tornado Valley, as we know, educated here by Terry McMillan, had the gate speed to lead our Majestic Man, who's outside him, of course, and held on for the heat. Wasn't going to be in the Great Southern Star till he worked well the Monday before this series. So this is last Saturday night. Did a super job. The question was, Greg, could he back up in the final? Having not raced for 4 months, would that heat final situation take it out of him? We found out 2.5 hours later.
Yeah, 153.1 was his winning time in the heat, and Kate Gath obviously delighted to have him back in the winner's circle. But when they rolled around to the final, he came up with a good draw, but didn't lead, Michael. Magical was very quick off the gate, but Tornado Valley was in the trail. Majestic Man had to cop the park position. Pink Galars got to the outside, but this story just rolled on.
Then Majestic Man, Pink Galars are starting to flash wide. Magical's in front. It's Magical from Tornado Valley. Magical, Tornado Valley punching through. Tornado Valley's going to get up. He lunges and wins. Oh, what a champion. Goes back to back. Tornado Valley, what a story. What a great training performance. What a horse. Tornado Valley's got through and won it and beaten Magical.
Yeah, brilliant performance. Yes, he got the right run and things panned out for him, but to do that in the space of, as you said, Michael, 2.5 hours, just a great credit to Andy Gath, Andy and Kate, and of course to this horse who is just so brave.
Well, he's always been a wonderful horse, but when he won the Inter-Dominions and some of those other races, it was a case where he was able to lead and dominate races and use his gate speed, and you sort of thought, oh, well, you know, he's not beating much, which was actually pretty true most of the time. What he had to do last Friday, my apologies, it wasn't Saturday, it was Friday, was show courage, Greg, because he had to back up after 2.5 hours, not having raced for 4 months earlier. They changed the horse's training to interval training and heat training recently, and that helped him to be ready for this type of series. Still a wonderful performance, and it puts an exclamation mark on his career. He was a horse we had started to forget. He had a very poor spring. He looked like he wasn't right somehow. Just something was wrong with the horse. They've got him back, and this now says, hey, this is a great trotter. He's not one of the all-time greats because he probably isn't beating all that much, but that was a brave, special evening from him and for the Gaths. Majestic Man's been brutally unlucky, Greg. He's drawn outside Tornado Valley in both the heat and the final. Put him inside them and he probably wins the whole shebang. So he's lost no respect there. He goes to the night pistol this Saturday night at Melton. He's drawn the second line, so it could have been a vastly different story for him. But probably the horse who in many ways deserves it the most got his second Great Southern Star, one of them over a staying trip, now over 2 sprint trips.
Yeah, of course, that race this week. Tough Monarch will get his chance. He's drawn about the middle of the front row. Majestuoso in there as well. So looking forward to the night pistol. The next feature, of course, came up on Saturday night. It was the Hunter Cup, and the dominant favourite had to extricate himself out of an awkward position early on, but we'll get Dan Malecki to bring him home. His name is Lochinvar.
Ultra Orlando, then came battling on King of Swing. It's Lochinvar from Ultra Orlando. Is trying really hard, but it's Lochinvar. His name is Artie. It's time to party with Artie. And Lochinvar, Australia's best horse, wins arguably Australia's best race, the Hunter Cup from Delray National. What a win. Lochinvar, he's a superstar. Ultra Orlando second. A great performance for a third, either King of Swing or Wolf Stride.
Home in 53-2, that's 28 from 50 for him, Michael. He is a superstar. He's the best going round at the moment, and once he worked his way to the lead, David Moran was able to dictate, and that powerful last 800 metres meant that they couldn't get near him. Great run, Ultra Orlando. He just keeps on punching. He's been a wonderful horse who's had his own share of injury problems, and of course King of Swing had to sit parked, and I thought he battled on really solidly.
Yeah, he was good. Ultra Orlando was fantastic and fortuitous that he got the right barrier draw, but he's just better than them, Lochinvar Art. Whether that transfers to Menangle when he's quite so dominant in a Miracle Mile, which is King of Swing's home track, we'll find out on March the 6th, but he's a wonderful horse. I think there's a little bit, as Australia tends to be, and sometimes we're guilty of it here too much hyperbole around the horse. Like, people talking about him being an all-time great, that's incredibly premature because he doesn't have that body of work yet. He's only won 2 major races, and then he won the Chariots of Fire last year, but that's an age group race. I think he has the potential to be a very, very good horse, maybe a great horse in time, but I'm just calling my jets about that yet because his body of work this year is no more impressive than, say, Tiger Tara's body of work 2 years ago, and no one's saying Tiger Tara is an all-time great. It's a pretty big list, the all-time greats list. But David Moran's a really good guy. I'm really happy to see him in this situation. He trained this horse beautifully. I don't think the horse was at its peak last week. I think he's had a niggle somewhere, which is annoying him. He heads to Newcastle in the Hunter Valley next Friday week, and that's going to be huge for them because if he wins the Newcastle Mile, Greg, he's qualified for the Miracle Mile without needing to go to the preludes. So I think he's the best horse in Australasia. I also had a little bit of the flip side of that. There's a lot of people saying after Self Assured won the New Zealand Cup, well, Self Assured might be a great horse because he's won a New Zealand Cup and an Auckland Cup, and maybe he will one day too also be a great horse. But I think at the moment neither of these horses deserve to be on anybody's all-time list unless you're David Moran because it's his all-time best horse. I'm happy for him. I'm looking forward to seeing where this horse ends up. He has champion qualities, but it's way too early to be calling him a champion just yet.
Yeah, fair call there. Turn It Up, of course, won at Albion Park in about a 52 there at the weekend. He's heading towards that Miracle Mile Carnival as well, which is great news because he's had his share of problems as well. Our Princess Tiffany. Well, she became a millionairess on Saturday night, and she did it in the ladyship, and she did it in great style. 153.1, 23 from 40 now, Michael, and in front and dominating. She was able to beat Better in Force.
Yeah, great drive by Chris Alford. He kept the speed on across the top and got Better in Force, who, typical from an angle horse, just got off the bit on the bends a touch because they're used to the bigger track. Just got the winning break on her. Well done to the Connections, of course. We know them, they're such good people. They've taken the gamble of taking this horse to Australia, compete in these mares races. She's won the Vic Bred final and then she's won this. So, look, she's embellished her career. She'll come back here and be a wonderful broodmare for the Whitelocks. But, yeah, they've got a pretty serious situation with $1 million mare now. Those things don't happen very often, Greg. So she's earned her $1 million the hard way, racing in some pretty strong races against the likes of Bella Montana and Better in Force. I presume she'll now head to Menangle to try and beat Better in Force on her home track in that Ladyship Mile, which is in 2 weeks' time.
All right, we're about to take a quick break as we leave Australia. When we come back, we'll have a look at what's ahead around this great country of ours and hone in on Addington Raceway. Yes, Premier Harness Racing returns there on Friday night. Welcome back into your box seat. As I've mentioned, Friday night, Addington Raceway. They've got 2 guaranteed $25,000 quaddies, the first and late quaddie as well. But let's get to the map and what's headed, or where you could be headed around New Zealand harness-wise this week. 9 races there, first on Thursday night at 5:39 out of Cambridge on the meeting code of 5. Same code the following night, same number of races just after 6 o'clock at Alexandra Park. And those fields just not quite out before we recorded this show. There's the big night at Addington, over 400,000 in stakes. Early start, 4 minutes past 5, the $150,000 New Zealand Standardbred Harness Million, and of course the Group 1 New Zealand Breeders' Stakes at $100,000 with the Auckland Cup winner Amazing Dream, the dominant favourite for that. So that's Friday night at Addington Raceway. Further south we go to Invercargill. It's Riverton's big meeting there, including their Cup at 14,000. They got 11 races there on Saturday. A 12 o'clock start for that. Sunday, the Hororata Club go to Methven. They got their Cup at 15,000 and the conditioned Neville Heat worth 14,000. 4 minutes past 12, 11 races there on Sunday. The Modi Manawa 2. We're back there with some races on Tuesday, 4 of those starting at 3:43. So that's the map, but the highlight no doubt domestically will be Addington Raceway and a terrific program there. The Leafield Station New Zealand Standardbred Breeders' Stakes for $100,000 at Group 1 level. Let's go back to the Premier Mares from a couple of weeks ago. Michael, this is always the key lead-up race for the breeders, and in front was the Auckland Cup winner, An Amazing Dream. Need You Now on her back. Watch Me Now to their outside. The majority of these all returning for the Group 1 big dance.
Yeah, and the big difference this week, Greg, is it's 2,600 metres, and Amazing Dreams drawn barrier 5, with most of the favoured contenders outside her, which means they won't be able, like Need You Now here, to get her on her back quite so easily. They may not hustle and bustle her forward, but the extra distance is crucial. Don't forget they score up for 400 metres first, so it's basically, you know, going at a pretty decent speed for 3,000 metres. She just rates as a certainty, I would have thought. Greg, $1.25 on the fixed odds seems decent for the multi-takers. The one thing I would say is she did get beat, of course, in the Mares version, or the northern version of this race, the Queen of Hearts, a few starts ago, but that was by Beyond Words and she's not there. So I think the $1.25 is pretty safe, Greg. Really like the run of the third horse on that occasion, but I think you're just playing for seconds and thirds and trying to get a first four or a trifecta. Just an interesting one, Yankee Party from the second line, now trained by Nathan Williamson. The Prices have sent her to Nathan for this campaign and for future racing.
Yep, good information there. New Zealand Bloodstock Harness Million for the fillies. La Rosa's already won one of these, and she returned to Addington Raceway from an Auckland campaign. That's her getting to the outside, the widest on the track, against the older horses. I thought she was excellent. She's going to have to come off the second row. That Alexander guy just managed to hold on here, and that's Braveview Kelly, who got shut out of a gap, who's got a much better draw this week, but La Rosa, she'll need to be excellent to come from the outside second row, won't she?
She will. She follows through behind Passion and Power, who I think will get off the gate pretty good. I just think she's probably better than most of these fillies. Braveview Kelly, I know the gap closed, but she didn't really grab me there in that race, to be honest, Greg. I thought La Rosa, clear top pick. She outstayed most of the fillies in the earlier Sales Series race for the 2-year-olds back about September, October. Interesting ones, Ivana. Hayden Cullen brings some of these all-stars horses together and in might this week. He brings a lot of big guns to the races. She trialled last week in a really strong trial against the likes of Self Assured and was pretty good. Wouldn't be surprised if she's the danger in this race. But for me, Greg, La Rosa clearly on top. With Hayden's team this week, bringing all those big guns in, it's a big Friday night for him.
Yeah, it certainly is. Speaking of that trial, we get a chance to have a look at that, Michael, because the Coca-Cola Summer Cup features the New Zealand Cup winner in Self Assured. So this was an all-stars trial. Italian lad's in the trail. He goes up the lane. Smooth Deal becomes 3 out, and Ivana getting widest on the track. There's not a lot between these, so Self Assured did a good enough job. They got home in 57.27. As you can see, no driver getting urgent here, but Ivana got close enough to these to suggest that she'll be very competitive in that Harness Million race. But these horses are all ready to go and ready to go on a Premier night.
Yeah, Self Assured, what that trial doesn't show you is that Mark Purden actually sat about 30 metres behind the field at the start of the trial to make the trial more difficult for him, more competitive. So he actually went better than that would indicate, and he sat on the horse up the straight. So yeah, Self Assured's ready for the Summer Cup, no stress there. Out of the trial, Smooth Deal was good. He actually won the trial. He's in that red hot race 2 on Friday, and look, no pot on Italian lad who's also in the same race. So it's a good trial, but when you take how good those horses are, and you look at Ivana, you go, hey, hold on, she's only a 3-year-old filly. Doesn't have a great draw this week. That's going to be the tricky part for her because she's probably going to end up back on the marker pegs, but there's only 3 on the second line, Greg. Just think she's the watch horse this week. She's a horse who could pop out and do something good because you put any of those 3 boys in that trial in the 3-year-old fillies race and they're going to garner a heap of attention.
Yep, they certainly are, as will Vacation Hill, who takes her place against the free-for-all trotters. It is the Fahey Fence Hire Summer Trotting Free-for-all. This was her racetrack return. We hadn't seen her, Michael, since August, but gee, she couldn't have been any more impressive than this.
Yeah, she was super. Clearly a very, very good filly turned mare now. Another one by Muscle Hill. She absolutely bolts in here. Look, she's enormously up in grade, but I can see what Kevin Townley's thinking. Like, it's not a scary Sunday Sun Bolt for Brilliance Marcoola type race this week. It's just a really good bunch of young horses coming through. Muscle Mountain, Her and Midnight Dash against the older mares, Splash Cola and Dark Horse. Interesting to see as she goes. It's not often we see mares this young taking on these type of horses, so adds a real new dynamic to the race, Greg, but clearly she's an open class horse. Whether she's an open class horse by Friday night, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, $6.50 if you do want to find out at tab.co.nz. 380 Muscle Mountain, who hasn't trialled since placing in the New Zealand free-for-all, and of course Dark Horse just keeps on winning, $2.30 the price about her. Speaking of the trotters, I found one when I was out and about doing some videos that might be worth having a look at. Heavyweight Heroes, Full Brother. He's by Muscle Mass out of Successor. Here he is. And he's being prepared not too far from me by Gail Murray. He's a good-looking type. He's lot 142. If you want to have a look at him, you can go to NZB Standardbred, the website, and you can have a look at this video again. But I think he'll sell pretty well, given that his full brother won that New Zealand free-for-all on New Zealand Cup Day, and of course has been the winner of 10 races, and he's a good, solid type. I expect there to be plenty of interest in him. Continuing our preview for Addington Raceway on Friday night, the Harness 7000. I'm going to throw this one to you, Michael, because Zarias, a name that's been associated, the Butchers have had good success many years ago with horses of similar names, but gee, he's delivered here. First up for Zachary.
Yeah, they backed him. That's him in the Zachary Butcher colours, the black and yellow down on the inside. He was heavily backed on debut in a strong field. This was a really strong field. Had to be really good to win. Clearly, Zach's set him for this race. It's a $40,000 race. It's one of my favourite races of the year. This is for stallions who stood at less than $5,000 or $5,000 or less. Zach's found the right race for this horse, Greg. Rock Legend's an interesting horse in this race. It's not often you see horses, former All-Stars horses, now with Hayden Cullen, who would be eligible for this race because most of them are by stallions who probably cost more than that. But this one's by Roll With Joe. So Rock Legend's the interesting winner, but Zarias has a little bit of class about him, and I don't think Zachary would be taking him down there unless he thought he could win.
Yeah, Colleen and the family are all coming down, so we wish them all the very best for that one. And Addington Raceway, the club there, the Met, gee, they've got a good program. And you're right, Michael, the Premier Harness Racing feels like it's been a wee while. Well, it has been since Cup time, and now we're into a terrific card there on Friday night with those two guaranteed $25,000 quaddies for you to get involved in there. The first goes just after 5 o'clock. What about the TAB hits and misses this week? Where did the wedge go and who won? Well, Five Wise Men, we've already showed him delivering there at $250. There was $7,500 on him. Darling Me, successful at the park and a decent lay there. Bolt for Brilliance got beaten though, Michael, not disgraced. He just got a bit run off his feet first up.
Look, he did. He got disconnected from the field from the big handicap, and he and Temporale ended up about 5 seconds behind the bunch. And then he just had to chase and chase and chase and chase. And Invictus was going so quick in front, there was no easy quarter for him. So he was in trouble a long way from home. He was just sloppy away. Tony Hurley, he said he just didn't concentrate early because there was no horses around him. And the race sort of got away on him very quickly. So not disappointed with him, but then again, I didn't have $6,000 at $1.45. So that person will be disappointed.
Yeah, they'll be hurting a lot more than us, although neither of us provided a winner last week, Michael, so we better try and improve that situation this week. We both go to Addington Raceway. It is a premier night of harness racing. You're keen on Pace and Pride?
I'll be honest, Greg, I couldn't find one I liked at Cambridge on Thursday night. There's some shorties like Amazing Dream and La Rosa who I didn't want to tip because they might be too short. Pace and Pride's going to be short. Add it to your multis. Would have liked to have tipped something at Alexandra Park, but those fields weren't done till Wednesday. I think that's too late in the week. For me, Wednesday's too late in the week to be doing fields for Friday night racing. I think we should try to avoid that heading forward.
Yep, I totally agree with that. I know there was a public holiday, but other people work on public holidays. So anyway, we'll move on from that, Michael, and have a look at Team Teal, who seem to have been dominating many of the races. Sam Otley is certainly having a great run. They're already up to close to 5,000 there, Michael, and we'll just update this each and every week with the ladies who are delivering. And Mark Hurrell drove at least one winner, and he's donating, I think it's $50 every time he wins one as well. So it's a great cause. Get him behind it, the Team Teal cause, which goes through to about the middle of March. Michael, that completes our show for the week. We're both off to the sales. It's always a great time of year and always great to get out and mix and mingle with the participants who are there to buy, but of course the vendors there that are providing the stock that will provide us with so many highlights on the racetrack over the upcoming years.
Look, it's going to be a wonderful week of the sales, but to our friends watching this on Australia, either on Sky or on YouTube, make sure if you want to play, you don't have to buy a horse, but just register to bid. Register by Saturday night or Saturday morning actually, to be bidding, and then you can potentially buy a horse because there's plenty there and there's going to be some bargains. It'll be strong, but there'll be some bargains to those people who have put all the love and care into these horses over the last 15, 18 months or so. Good luck for what lies ahead over the next week. And Greg, next week, a later box seat show on Thursday so we can review the sales with the seriousness and the analysis that they deserve.
Yeah, totally, Michael. So there'll just be a couple of plays over the weekend if you're watching it on trackside, but go to hrnz.co.nz or tab.co.nz and you'll be able to watch your box seat later on Thursday afternoon. That's been our show for this week. Michael and I will catch you in 8 days' time.